Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and welcome back to another edition of Meet the Opposition. This week, I'm joined by Josh Cook from the Raw Meal podcast, covering all things Accrington Stanley, head of the Blues trip, a long trip to the Wham Stadium. Josh, thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. What's your assessment of the season so far for you guys? The last results haven't been too great. A 5-1 defeat at Oxford, 3-3 draw against Morecambe, and the 4-1 defeat against Wigan. Doesn't look good reading, but overall, your thoughts on the season so far?
Yeah, the last three results have obviously been horrendous. I was at Morecambe last week when we drew with them 3-3. They had 10 men for the best part of an hour. So to be honest, that felt like a defeat as well. But like you say, you can't read too much into it at this early stage of the season. We're still 12th. Played 4, drawn 1, lost 5. It's a nice little mix of results, to be honest. But yeah, it's just the last couple of weeks, I think, for a lot of people, including myself, has just started, just that little horrible thing in the back of your mind has just come in where we're going, oh, I don't like that. I don't like what's going on here. And when you look at the next few weeks in fixtures that we've got, starting on Saturday, it doesn't get really any easier for us.
Yeah. And let's talk about the, starting 11 and, Tuesday night, 5-1 defeat. You always think the manager's going to do a massive change, but you look at Accrington's sort of squad. You haven't got a massive squad. The big stand-up player that is missing is Ross Sykes, a man that I'm a big fan of. He will be missing because he's suspended, got another 5th yellow card of the season against Oxford. What do you reckon? Who will come in for him, and what's starting 11 possible for Accrington?
Yeah, I think that so. Over the last sort of 2 years, certainly, we've been known for moving to this 3-5-2 formation. I think on Tuesday, he reverted back to a bit more of a defensive style, which we haven't seen in a while. So that's a funny one. Getting beat 5-1 when you've done that, would probably think that on Saturday in a home game, with a lot of the home fans there egging on, I think he'll go back to a 3-5-2. Without Sykes, we are quite short, though. We've got a couple of loanees and things like that. So I think that he'll play... Well, if we run through it, I think he'll play a Mankwa at the back, Nottingham, who has been an absolute steal for us, really, as a signing when he came in last year. Nobody really expected much from him, but to be honest, he's been one of the standouts over the last 12 months. And Sherrin as a back three as well. In front of them, I think he'll play the club captain, Seamus Keneally, who's come back recently from a bit of an injury. I think really he's been rushed back a little bit because the results started going a little bit pear-shaped. And then, like we were saying just before we came on, it's a tough one because after you've been beaten 5-1, me in my head, I'd think to myself, well, I think he will definitely make changes because I think that he won't want to sort of let players know that you can get away with performances like that and still have a place in the side. But as you just said, when you've got a squad that's not the greatest in terms of what is coming off the bench, he does usually revert to, who he can trust and who he thinks will get a good performance out of. So I think that we'll play Seamus Keneally, Butcher will play, McConville will play. I think that there's a good chance that John O'Sullivan will play on the right-hand side because we're missing Joe Pritchard through injury at the minute. And I think he'll play Harry Pell as well, who has been coming back from an injury. He came on as a substitute in the last 2 games, but everybody's heard of Harry Pell. I'm sure that people have heard of Harry Pell who are listening to this. He's a really experienced player in League One and League Two. And I think that at the time when we're just missing maybe a cooler head, somebody who can just pick that ball up and calm things down in midfield, I think he'll play him. Up front, we're going to be missing Dion Charles because he seems to have angered the manager and the management team, and in doing so, he's angered a few of the fan base as well because apparently he's down tools a little bit in training. I thought he was just going to do that for 1 game. He seems to have done it for the last 3 as well, so I don't think we'll see Charles. So up front, I think we'll see Colby Bishop. And then again, his strike partner could be a number of people, really. We've got a player from non-league called Tommy Lee, who could partner him up there. He's come on as a few substitute appearances. A young lad in Mansell who played against Morecambe, who did okay, didn't really do anything, but he wasn't terrible. And then we've got a few loan players as well, people like Malcolm and Mumbongo, who have come from West Bromwich and Burnley as well, who really have had one or two chances, but again, haven't really taken that opportunity. So it's a strange one. It's probably the first time in 2 years and the first weekend that we could have spoke to each other and I couldn't really tell you the team. So yeah, it's been a strange one. But I think he'll play 3-5-2 and I think we'll try and get a really positive performance on, well, let's hope so anyway.
Definitely, and of course, people have been watching. They've been seeing the lineup scrolling down below, and one of the names that we're going to go up to next is talking about Colby Bishop and talking about the players to watch. He's one man who has scored a ton of goals for yourself, and of course against Ipswich as well. How is he doing this season? And is he a player that Town fans should fear this weekend?
Yeah, again, I was thinking about this question this afternoon as well when you spoke about players to watch. And to be honest, for the start of the season, we've played 10 games now and nobody stood out as an absolute, key performer. Colby, he is reliable. He will get you a goal and he's always a danger on the field. Again, he stuttered to get going really in the early start of the season. He got a brace last week at Morecambe. I hope that can be his sort of, his start to the season. He can really kick on from here, especially when Charles is missing as well. Those two last year scored a shed load of goals together. And if we're missing Charles, then maybe it falls on Colby to sort of pick up even more and score a few more than he did last year. But yeah, he's probably the danger man. As you've seen it in the past. He's dangerous in the air. He knows where the goal is and he's good from a set piece as well. So I think he'd be the standout and he's going to be our biggest danger going forward.
There we go. And of course, one man that will know Colby Bishop in training is, of course, Cameron Burgess, who joined Town from Accrington this summer. How big was that to lose him? And that'll be the big talking point going into this game. And of course, big talking point will be Coleman and Cook facing, good friends. They'll be facing each other. Paul Cook was a manager at Accrington briefly. And it'll just be a big talking point going around. But Cameron Burgess, how much of a miss has he been so far for you guys?
Yeah, again, that was a strange one because, Stanley, we have this model where, we entice players in on 2-year deals, 3-year deals with the promise that if you do well, you will get a move like he has done to a bigger club in the league or even a division higher. Cameron, he had a good year last year. I don't think any Stanley fan would tell you that he was absolutely exceptional or when he did get the move, I don't think any of us were absolutely devastated. I think that we saw the fee, we saw that we were going and we thought, well, that's a good move for everybody involved. But, when you're getting beat, when you're conceding 5, 3 and 1, maybe he had a little more to do with our defensive record last year than we thought. So, yeah, I think that, you've just said there that Sykes is missing on Saturday through suspension. And with a few injuries in there to Harvey Rodgers and people like that, that back line now looks light and it looks an extra body in there would be fantastic. And make no mistake, if he was still with us at Accrington, Burgess would definitely be starting that game on Saturday. So yeah, he's a big miss. But like you say, it's not the only sort of cornerstone to the game. Paul Cook is somebody who splits opinion in Accrington fans. He was very, very good, came to us just after John Coleman left for the first time. I always thought he was fantastic, such a character, somebody who I really sort of saw around the club and really liked. And yeah, it'd be good to see him back. And I hope he does really, really well with Ipswich, actually.
And of course, the last time we were at Accrington, we won 2-1. You guys had a player sent off very early on in that game. And Paul Cook, that wasn't actually his first official game. He was appointed that day. He was just in the stands. Of course, he was still shouting and doing different stuff. But Accrington is normally not a good trip for Town. The FA Cup game and the other defeat live on TV, we had a player sent off as well. So they've always been good games. But what are you expecting then? Prediction time, my friend.
Yeah, it's a question that I think, again, it would have differed in the last 2 weeks. With the start of the season that you had and the start of the season that we've had. It's like predicting the team. I've no idea. Stanley could turn up on Saturday and it would not surprise me if we were 2-0 up at half time. And strangely enough, and I might get lambasted for this off our fans, it wouldn't surprise me if we were 3-0 down at half time either. With that strange of a side, in the best of times, in the last 2 weeks, that throws all that into, really throws the cat amongst the pigeons. And when you guys are scoring goals for fun, anything could happen. I think that we'll see goals either way. I just hope that too many of them aren't in the back of our net.
Definitely, it should be an interesting trip. And finally, before we go, any sort of shout outs for fans to look out for when we get to Accrington if they've never been to Accrington before? Any pubs to go to? Anything around the ground? Of course, there's no cover, so if there is raining and then terraces, it's going to be a wet day for town fans.
Yeah, not great. I think we're just still trying to get into the 21st century with that. For me, the Crown Pub, which if anybody's been to Accrington before, is at the top of the steps before you walk down into the ground. That caters for away fans. They do really, really sort of pre-game food, really good beers. You've got some, a lot of bitters in there and a lot of good lagers as well. And then more recently, they've changed the car park to like an outside area as well. So, if you don't want to get down into the marquee that the club put on and, maybe you want to get a bit more of a, what would you say, more of a traditional sort of fan experience in a proper pub, then the Crown Pub at the top of the stairs is the place to go. Yeah, definitely.
Well, brilliant, Josh. Well, thank you very much for joining me. And, well, town fans, if you're heading to Accrington this weekend, safe trip. And this should be an interesting game indeed. See you all there. Bye-bye for now.